Hello everybody! I welcome you to this more or less process video of my Aquarius piece. It's a watercolor painting and it's part of my zodiac signs series. You can see me scrolling through my Instagram looking for mood boards, references, anything that inspires me, because I tend to combine different pieces of inspiration I get and then get something out of there. Like, for example, I wasn't only looking for specifically Aquarius pieces, but also just Instagram images of water and anything I associated. I'd like to put a tiny disclaimer here. I'm not really a believer when it comes to star signs or anything, or zodiac signs. I don't think that a random constellation of stars has a lot of impact on ourselves or on our lives, but please don't take this as an offense. If you're into that kind of stuff, you do you, but I'm not really a believer. And now I also try to figure out what personality traits Aquarius are associated with. Now we are entering the sketching phase. As you can see, I found a reference image for a face and I've been using that, but as you can see, it's not really her. Like, you can see it's not really accurate, which I also try to be a little bit more far from the original reference photo. I was sketching down the overall image in a smaller version. Having like a concept sketch always helps me. And then I'm also doing color tests next to it, as you can see in a few seconds. Now, I was looking up specific color traits for color charts for every single zodiac sign, and I always used these strips. So I have a whole page in my sketchbook that's only like these color charts, so I can even look at them when I'm not on the internet, which is perfect. And here I'm using specific elements of this color chart, because oftentimes they're very broad. Like, you can see it's basically every color of the rainbow, but I associated the red hair, as I said, that really inspired me. And I really like the idea of her having faded hair into some color. Like, here I tried out if I could fade these orange tones into kind of a purple and then blue, but I ended up not liking that a lot because it made the colors a little bit muddy. It was way too rainbow flashy, especially the one with the green. So now, as you can see, I'm beginning to basically sketch on my final piece. I had to basically crop the paper I had, so I have this line on the bottom. Now I'm starting to sketch out her face, and I actually do draw with pencil as my underpainting because I just find it a lot safer for myself. I'm a little bit more secure that way. I still tend to draw over the lines, or maybe sketch in a few more flicky hairs that just, I don't know, fly around. And as you can see, I'm just sketching out every little thing I really wanted to have in the end. The stones on the right and the left that you see right now, me sketching out, those were an idea that I had because I saw this image of water flooding over this very stony kind of beach, and it inspired me because the texture looked so smooth, even though it's rocks, it's hard and everything, but it looked so smooth under the kind of greenish water. You will see me drawing them painting them in a very blue kind of way, a little bit more on the indigo side, but later on I will fill them in with a little bit more of a greenish, tealish color, because I like the idea of having a little bit more green on the bottom. Now I'm working also on Ginn Tones, and as you can see, I'm just working in layers here. As it is traditionally in watercolor, I start out with the lightest tones in the skin tones, and I like to add a little bit of blush in that stage also, because I like to have like a warm undertone to my skin tones. I recently learned about this very interesting technique of basically shading in backgrounds, which I'm using on the stones right now, where you're working from basically light to dark again, but this time it's like with negative space. I don't really know how to describe it, but you first lay down a base layer of very light colors, and then you sculpt out the shapes with a darker shade, and then continue that until you get the dimensions that you're aiming for. I find it pretty relaxing to do that, because I don't know, just the repeated motion and the color process is very, very relaxing to me. That's why I do it a lot in my sketchbooks, and I did a piece with leaves that way that I liked very much. Sorry for the lighting change, by the way, but I took a longer break because a friend of mine was in the city at that time. So we went out, did something, and then I came back to the piece, because I also had to let the layers dry so I could work very detailed things like the stones and the dimensions. But yeah, that's why it's a little bit darker in this area. Also, I want to say something about my very specific and favorite watercolor palette. I've been working on putting it together. It's not really one cohesive kind of paint anymore. I actually kind of butchered it. In the beginning it had cohesive pots of paint, but now I have White Knights in there, I have Winsor & Newton, I have a lot of different paints in there, and by now I'm very happy with what I arranged and what I really like. But my very special favorite kind of watercolor is the White Knights. I think that's mainly because it's very, very creamy, you can apply it in a very thick matter, but also you can have beautiful, beautiful washes with vibrant colors, and I just love the consistency and the pigmentation. They're incredible. I think in this piece specifically I used the indigo color by them, and I loved how it laid down with the lips, like very, very opaque and very crisp, but then also I had to do some very light washes, and I did those too with that paint, and it just works. So as you can see, I decided to fade the hair color from a bright orange to white basically. I like that idea because you have a lot of darks with the stones, so you have a lot of contrast down there. If you wanted me to explain the concept, it's basically, well, she is essentially a creature of water. So she's not only like consisting as a normal person, consisting of a lot of water, but also she is like spilling it out of her. She is basically, I don't know, a well. She can openly express her emotions, but is also very open. Like, she tends to basically let all of her emotions and everything just roll out freely, and that's the way I'd describe Aquarius. Not only am I an Aquarius and I feel that way, but they tend to be very obnoxious, which I thought would kind of go well with the whole spilling out theme. So here, my boyfriend got me a little present so I can keep on working and not be starving for sugar. So thanks for that. Now I'm using my masking liner, which actually works pretty well. I was kind of struggling with it in the beginning, but now I'm kind of secure on it. So after I masked all of that like singular hair strands, I started to lay down a flat wash of the glue for the gold leafing and applied my flakies. Those are very, 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 I don't know, flaky. I decided on the flakes instead of the leaves, like the big ones, because I think the texture is really beautiful. But they're also a little bit harder to work with because they don't lay down very regularly, so like coherent, so you have to kind of work around that. That's why I applied a second coat of the glue here and put a little bit more on, so I could maybe define it a little bit more in the shapes that I wanted to, because it had to like blend into the hair. That's why I made it go up like it was singular hair strands being gold, and I really also intended for the gold in the kind of crown of the hair because I loved how it kind of stands out in the orange. Now I'm laying down a flat wash of this greenish color. It's supposed to be a thing that is kind of unique to my zodiac paintings, that they all have this white border, but only to a certain extent. That's why the washi tape I laid down is like over parts of the stones because they're supposed to, I don't know how to explain it, but the background is kind of supposed to blend parts into this color, but also have this white border. Then I decided, because the background was like a little bit greener, that this water spilling out of her eyes should also be a little bit more greenish. I kind of regret not doing that with the water on her neck, but I think it still goes well together. I'm using my, I think it's a Posca pen. Yeah, I think it's a Posca white paint pen that's like supposed to be very light, but it kind of mudded in some of the places. Normally I really like this, but with this painting it just wasn't really working. But I tried to light up some spaces, make it a little bit more of a highlight. So while I did this, the masking liner dried, and you will see me peel it off in a second, and I think it will be really satisfying. I left it in real time so you guys could really get into it. Here we go. And we're done, everyone. I hope you really liked the video. I hope you liked the finished piece. And leave a comment below if you like this, if you're an Aquarius, or what your star sign is, so I know. And this is basically the process, how I did all of them. You can see them on my Instagram page. Follow for more content, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Bye, honey.